So what we're going to do is we're going to start with the um, data preparation and data importing. So the first thing I'm going to want to do is import the pressure data. And in order to do that, I'm going to follow the wizard system that's built into the software. So I recommend that for first-time users, you follow the wizard system until you get to a level where you feel confident enough you can work without the wizard system. By doing this, you're going to get cues as to the important components of the workflow in terms of the analysis. So that's why I'm recommending, if you're a new user, to work with the wizard initially, and then as you get more comfortable, you can use the wizard for just certain portions of the analysis where you feel you need it or you get stuck. Okay, so I'm going to click on the Import Wizard button. And the first thing we need to identify is what kind of test we're going to analyze here. So in this case, we're dealing with a simple drawdown and buildup. And so I'm going to select drawdown and buildup. Now the software can also handle other kinds of tests if you run into those. For example, here we've got injection fall off. We've got a series of non-conventional tests, mini-frac tests, which use the G-function analysis. We've got slug and PETA tests, also known as closed chamber tests. The software is designed to handle those different scenarios. In this example, I'm just going to start with the basics here and cover a basic drawdown and buildup. So once we have our test type selected, we need to pick our surface pressure data set. Now WellTest can basically read in just about any form of ASCII file that you've got. So in this case, I've got a CSV file or a comma separated file, and these are easily generated from Excel. So I'm going to go ahead and select that surface pressures file and select open. And then the first step in my importing process here is to select the starting row. So I'm going to select row 6 by clicking on the row number. This is just going to identify the first row of data, which is going to indicate to the software where to start importing the data within the file, because typically all these files are going to have header information above, such as this, which explains what's in each column. So we just want to identify that first row of actual data to let the software know that's where it needs to start reading the data in from. Okay, so that's our first step. The next step is we're actually going to identify the types of data in each of these columns. So the first column here is our date, so I'm going to select date from the drop-down list. And now I'm going to select the format of that date, and it appears to be in a month, day, year format, so I'll select that. Next column is our clock time, and that is in hours, minutes, and seconds. And finally we have our casing pressure in kPa gauge. And we don't really need the casing temperature in this case, so I'm just going to ignore that for now. These are the main pieces of information we're going to need. So again, I'm going to hit the next button, and this final step here is basically just asking us if we want to change either the gauge name or gauge start time here. By default, WellTest will automatically set the start time of this gauge to the first date and clock time you see in the CSV file. So you can see there that we have the same date, so there's nothing I really need to change there. You may want to change the gauge name if you're importing, say, gauges that are run at different depths. So you might have a top gauge or a bottom gauge, so you might want to note that in the name. In this case, we only have the one surface pressure gauge on the casing side, so I'm just going to leave that defaulted. Going to hit finish, and you'll see our production editor has populated with that pressure data from that CSV file. So we're just going to keep following the wizard here, and it's just asking if we want to append any data to the data set. In this case we don't. That's all the pressure data we've got. And the next step here is now we want to bring in some additional data, and that additional data in this case is going to be our rate information now. So I'm going to leave that on yes and hit next. And now I'm going to select this second file here, our surface rates. Select open, and again I'm going to repeat the same process I just followed to import the pressure gauge file. So again, identifying the first row of data, identifying the data types in each column. So again, I've got date, month, day, year. I've got clock time. And in this file, I just have a measured gas rate. So I'm going to set the appropriate unit on that, which is 10 cubed m cubed per day. And that's about it. So again, we can hit next. Of course, it automatically will just call this gauge 2, so we don't need to change the name there. The starting time for this should be okay, so we will stick with that. And I'll just hit finish.